From the moment a human being becomes aware of another human being, a silent psychological contract is formed, one that is rarely spoken but always felt. Carl Jung believed that the greatest dangers in life do not arrive wearing the face of obvious hostility. They arrive smiling, agreeing, encouraging, and pretending to walk beside us. The enemy disguised as a friend is not a villain from outside, but a reflection from within, because such people are attracted to parts of our own unconscious that we have not yet confronted. Jung often said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And nowhere is this more visible than in the relationships where betrayal feels sudden but was, in truth, inevitable. The disguised enemy does not announce themselves. They study. They listen. They observe your weaknesses more carefully than your strengths, because your weaknesses are doorways. At first, they feel comforting. They agree with your complaints, validate your frustrations, and mirror your opinions. Jung called this psychological mirroring a shadow technique, where one person reflects back what another wants to see, not out of empathy, but out of strategy. You mistake this reflection for understanding, and slowly, without realizing it, you lower your defenses. True friends challenge you gently. False friends feed your ego because it keeps you dependent. In the beginning, the disguised enemy appears especially during periods of growth. Jung noticed that whenever a person begins to individuate, to move toward their true self, resistance appears not only internally, but externally. The enemy disguised as a friend often emerges at the exact moment you begin to outgrow your old identity. They sense the shift before you do. Their discomfort is subtle. It hides behind jokes, sarcasm, passive remarks, and concern that feels slightly heavy. They might say they support your goals, but their energy contradicts their words. Jung believed that the psyche communicates truth through contradictions. When words and energy do not align, the unconscious is speaking louder than language. Such a person rarely attacks you directly. Instead, they plant doubt. They ask questions that sound caring but are designed to destabilize your confidence. Are you sure this is right for you? Don't you think you're changing too much? People might misunderstand you. These statements seem harmless, even thoughtful, but Jung warned that repeated exposure to subtle doubt weakens the ego's connection to the self. Over time, you may begin to mistrust your instincts and rely more on their opinion than your inner voice. This is how psychological dominance is established without force. Jung's concept of the shadow explains why this dynamic is so powerful. The disguised enemy often represents traits you have rejected in yourself, such as jealousy, ambition, insecurity, or the desire for control. Because you do not accept these traits consciously, you fail to recognize them when they appear in another person. The shadow operates invisibly. The enemy disguised as a friend does not see themselves as malicious. They believe they are justified. Jung emphasized that the most dangerous people are not those who know they are destructive, but those who believe they are righteous. One of the clearest signs, Jung believed, is how such a person reacts to your independence. A true friend celebrates your autonomy. A disguised enemy tolerates it only when it benefits them. When you stop needing their validation, advice, or emotional labor, their behavior shifts. They may withdraw affection, become cold, or subtly punish you through distance or shadow. They allow us to avoid responsibility. They agree when we blame others. They comfort us when we stagnate. In this sense, the disguised enemy is a co-creator of our suffering. Jung never framed this as victim blaming, but as empowerment. If you recognize your unconscious participation, you reclaim choice. Recognition does not come suddenly. It arrives as a quiet pattern. Jung believed truth reveals itself through repetition. One moment may be dismissed, two ignored, but over time the psyche begins to connect dots. You notice that your confidence diminishes after interactions. Your decisions feel heavier. Your joy feels judged. These are not coincidences. The unconscious communicates through feeling tones long before logic catches up. When recognition finally occurs, it often feels like grief rather than anger. Jung described this as the death of an illusion. You mourn not only the person you thought they were, but the version of yourself who needed them. This grief is necessary. Without it, you risk repeating the pattern with someone new. Individuation requires loss. Letting go of the disguised enemy is also letting go of a dependency within yourself. Jung advised against confrontation driven by rage. The disguised enemy rarely admits their role because doing so would require shadow integration, which they avoid. Instead, the most effective response is psychological withdrawal. Reduce emotional disclosure. Set boundaries without justification. Observe without reacting. As your inner center strengthens, their influence weakens naturally. Jung believed that what loses psychological nourishment eventually dissolves. The final stage is integration. You examine what part of you allowed the dynamic to exist. Perhaps it was fear of loneliness, desire for approval, or avoidance of conflict. By integrating this awareness, you no longer need disguised enemies to teach you through pain. Jung believed that every unconscious pattern repeats until it is made conscious. Recognition is liberation. In the end, the enemy disguised as a friend is not a punishment, but a mirror. They appear to reveal where you have abandoned your inner authority. Once you reclaim it, they fade from significance. Jung taught that the goal of life is not to eliminate darkness, but to see clearly within it. When you can sit with your own shadow without fear, no one else can use it against you. And so the story does not end with revenge or triumph, but with silence. A silence where intuition is trusted again, where friendships feel light instead of heavy, where agreement is not required for connection. Jung believed that when the self becomes the guiding center, false alliances fall away naturally. The enemy disguised as a friend cannot survive in the presence of conscious awareness because their power was never real. It existed only in what you had not yet seen within yourself. Thanks for watching. Please share this video and subscribe this channel.